Hey there, comic book fans. I am back from the comic shop again this week. What did I get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comics this week. 3 True Believers and a couple of pull list comics. And I actually only pre-ordered one of the True Believers, but the other 2 I just kind of bought on impulse. And the one that I pre-ordered was Star Wars, issue 107. This is the last issue of last issue of the original Star Wars series. I just got this for the heck of it. Joe Duffy, Cynthia Martin, Will Portacio inked this. Who knew that? Tom Warzakowski, Elaine Lee, Ann Nesenti, and Jim Shooter. I don't think I was buying this at the time. I remember I bought some of the early Cynthia Martin issues because I started buying. I wasn't a big Star Wars fan. I started buying it when Walt Simonson started drawing it. And then I bought that. I think I bought it all the way through until Cynthia Martin started drawing it. And I must have stopped sometime at the beginning of her run. But I don't know. I just got this just for the heck. I think this is an issue that's gone up in value, the original. Because no one was buying it at issue 107. So I think this is like a lot of these 1980s last issues. Let's see, is this? Oh, it doesn't give us the original cover on the back. I wonder why that is. That's weird. A lot of these 80s licensed books no one was buying at the end, like Transformers and G.I. Joe and Star Wars. So, and then the 2 I pulled off the shelf was Rocket Raccoon, number 1. I wasn't really that interested in it. It was pre-order time, but now I'm like, yeah, for $1, I'll pick it up. I think this is Mike Mignola drawing this one. Shouldn't the credits be on the first page? This is an old comic. I think Mike Mignola drew. Did Bill Mantlo write it? There we go. Created by Bill Mantlo and Keith Giffen. Bill Mantlo story, Mike Mignola pencils, Al Gordon inks. Christy Sheila colors. Ken Brusnak letters, and Carl Potts the editor. So yeah, figured what the heck, for $1 I'll give it a read. The other one I bought, True Believers, was Avengers Forever. I actually this is one of my favorite late 90s, I think it was, Avengers series. I really enjoyed this one. Kurt Busiek, Carlos Pacheco. And I did a video a couple months ago on what trapping was, and I used this Avengers Forever as trade paperback as an example because I knew that the trapping was off on that because they lost the digital files, blah, blah, blah. But I know also later on they somehow corrected the digital files for the hardcover, so I actually wanted to compare this printing to the printing on the trade paperback and just some technical stuff I was curious about. I was like, I want to see how they did this. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of type. But I enjoyed this story. This is it was 12-issue series where it's called Avengers Forever because a whole bunch of Avengers were pulled from different timelines to have to fight Kang or something. And there was Captain America from the 70s right after he was disillusioned with being Captain America. There's this guy from the 80s, this guy from the 90s, this guy from the 60s. So it was a fun story, but I already have this in three different formats, but I wanted it in a 4th format, so now I can compare like I said, I know I've worked on the original doing some of the production, so I know why the production was messed up on the original trade paperback, so I just wanted to compare it. Oh, and I didn't show you the freebies either. We got a nice House of X comic shop news. Will make Sleepy Reader a little jealous when I show off my comic shop news because he was just saying in one of his videos that his local comic shops don't carry this. So he gets a little envious when he sees it. Walt Simonson's Ragnarokin. There we go. Ragnarok's coming back. So, look at it. The Breaking of Hindhelm. So that's still on my pull list. So I'll be getting that when it comes out. Deceased gets what else? Oh, then it's just pre-order stuff. Lots of order numbers in this one I see. And no more Spider-Man newspaper strip. It's ended. I find that a little disappointing. Lots of stuff you can pre-order. We'll look up and see what the True Believers are for this later on. And the other free thing I got, just because it was there, was DC previews. There's a stack of these. They're like, take one. They're free. I think sometimes you got to buy previews to get it. Sometimes you don't. So I'll look and see what's new and coming out from DC on that. Then let's see, what are our 2 new books? Criminal number 4. It's a new story arc. Well, they're not even... First issue was a done in one. Issue 2 and 3 was one story, and issue 4 is another story. They're skipping around. They're doing whatever they want with Criminal. Good stuff. I especially liked issues 2 and 3 because they were about a comic book artist and took place in the comic book industry. So, that was fun. I just read, I think for San Diego Con or something. It's coming out at that time. It's not just at the con. They're taking issues 2 and 3 and publishing it as a hardcover graphic novel, I think with some new stuff added, they said. But sort of like, where's this? Is that one at the end of here? What's that hardcover graphic novel they put out in October that I can't remember the name of? Oh, My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies. I think they're doing it in that format. 80 pages, 100 pages, whatever it is, graphic novels. That should be interesting. I'm probably not going to get it because I have the issues, but who knows? Maybe someday when it's for cheap on Amazon, I'll pick it up. And the last issue I got this week brings us into one I just ordered. The Wicked and the Divine. Gillen, McKelvey, Wilson, and Cowles. This is wrapping up. Good story. What issue is this? 43. Going on for a few years now. Nice artwork, nice story. About a bunch of gods who come back every 110 years and feud and then die 2 years later. And they're trying not... There's a nice splash page. And they always try not to die that time around, but they always do. Whatever happens, you get to live, Cassandra. Oh, and this reminds me, I actually ordered the writer on this book, Kieran Gillen, who also writes Uber, which I buy. I read digitally Peter Cannon and liked it, so I just put it on my pull list and ordered physical copies of the first 3 issues. It's pretty good. It's pardon me. Peter Cannon. It's almost a sequel to The Watchmen, because what's that guy's name in The Watchmen? I can never remember his name. It's Ozymandias or Asmodeus or Asmandius. I can't remember. The spoiler alert in case you've never read The Watchmen. He was the character. Don't listen to this part if you're going to watch The Watchmen, but it's 30 years old at this point. So is it 30 years old? I don't know. When did it come out? 86, 96, 2006, 2006. Hold on. 86, 96, 96, 2006, 2006. Holy crap, it is 30 years old, The Watchmen. I have to add it up on my fingers to make me get it. But Ozymandias was kind of based, well, not quite based on, but it was related. His starting point was Peter Cannon, an old Golden Age character. And in this one, the story is about who's the smartest man in the world, just like Ozymandias. And Ozymandias had a plot in The Watchmen, and that plot kind of continues in this Peter Cannon story. So that it's kind of interesting. And the 4th issue, I really liked on it, because the 4th issue was kind of an homage to Eddie Campbell, the guy who drew From Hell with Alan Moore, in the 80s had a comic called, hold on a second, that... Okay, I'm back from that phone ringing. What was I saying? Eddie Campbell had a comic in the 80s called Alec. And it was just a comic about, it was black and white comic about, I think in London or England somewhere, because he was English. bunch of guys hanging out in the pub doing things guys hang out in the pub do. You know, nothing exciting, just a slice of life, black and white comic, good stuff. I enjoyed it. But issue 4 of Peter Cannon was kind of a tribute to that, because there's alternate worlds in Peter Cannon. And he went to the world of Alec. All of a sudden the book was in black and white. It was drawn just like Eddie Campbell drew in the 80s. And it was just one of the nicest and more interesting tributes I've seen. So I'm like, all right, I got to order. When I read something digitally and then I decide I like it, I go put it on my pull list and get the actual issues. So that's what I did with Peter Cannon. So in a few weeks from now, I'll have those to show off. But meanwhile, here's a little of my artwork. I'll show you some stuff. And here's something in progress. I started drawing this in marker, or started the marker drawing, and haven't finished it yet. Haven't quite gotten there with it, but it's in progress. Here's a little something I was doing today. Some of my tiny ink drawings. These are drawn with brush and ink on paper. I've done a few hundred of them over the years. And these are just kind of my spontaneous drawings. No penciling or figuring stuff out, just getting an ink and brush. And this is my busted brush. So it's got all sorts of little hairs flying off the edges of it. It looks like this. There we go. I'm inking with one of those crazy things. And it being hard to control is part of the process. So, there you go. I got one other thing I haven't shown you behind this is one I penciled, I think it is. I ranked this since the last time you saw it. This is another one that's going to get colored one of these days. Sort of like this. Well, first I have to finish this one, but I got in the middle of it and I was just like, hey, some other time. I want to do the little ink one. All right. So that's it for this week, and you guys all have a good week out there.